Yeah, so this week I just wanted to say, just talk for a few minutes about what is sometimes talked about as being aware that we're aware or aware of awareness. But when we start a period of formal practice, it's probably more helpful to just start by noticing objects, noticing whatever's arising in the mind through your experience, or to stay with an anchor. You might choose one of those aspects of your experience. Yeah, so objects such as body sensations, could be thoughts, could be feeling, the feeling tone in experience, sounds, or seeing. So these are all familiar to you, or yeah, maybe thoughts and feelings, slightly more subtle objects, but they're all objects in experience, and they can help stabilize and steady the mind, steady the awareness. What we often don't recognize at that point, perhaps until the mind has calmed down a bit or stabilized a bit, is that we can only recognize those objects, those aspects of experience, because of another quality of mind, because of the knowing quality of mind, which is another way of talking about the awareness. So whenever an object is recognized, well, then we're aware of it. It's known, and that means that knowing is also happening. So knowing and known. So there's what's known, all the different objects, and the knowing of it. And those are always happening together in experience. But usually our emphasis in daily life and initially in at the beginning of a practice is going to be on what's known. So these things, as I say, they're always happening together, but they are distinguishable. You can distinguish between the awareness and the objects that the mind is aware of. So it's helpful to start with the emphasis on knowing objects, knowing experiences. But once you know that you're aware, you have that sense of awareness accompanying awareness, recognizing and knowing what's happening, then just see if you can let go to some extent, just let the objects be and pay more attention to the knowing or to the awareness. And that can happen quite gradually. It can be quite a subtle, it's a subtle shift. But you might suddenly see that, oh, that the experience is being looked at in a slightly different way. There's more emphasis on the knowing. Maybe a bit like a hologram, when you can see something one way and then you can see it another way. And once you've seen it the other way, it's easier to find again. It's easier to see it that way again. It's important to keep the practice relaxed, keep mind and body quite soft, not trying to do anything in particular. But you can be awake to that shift in emphasis, to the awareness and its qualities. How does the awareness feel? Yeah, so see if it's possible to rest more with the awareness, allow it to open up and see what else becomes known. It can be a point where the practice just opens up with that shift of emphasis. And one way of, if you like, reminding us of that that the knowing is always happening with the known, is to drop in questions, maybe when the mind is a little bit relaxed and steady. So you might drop in a question: what is the mind knowing? Or what's awareness knowing? So then you've got the emphasis on the knowing in the mind rather than the objects. You've got that awareness more sort of front and forward. We always know the objects as well, but in time, or at times, we can also know the awareness more clearly. And when that happens, what happens, we've moved from being identified with the awareness. Often we don't see it because there's that process of identification. I'm recognizing what's happening. I'm knowing this, that, and the other. So that can be something to look out for as well. Just that sense of recognizing the sense of self, identifying with this process, this mental process of knowing that's just happening in the mind, just happening on its own, quite automatically. Okay, that's all I'll say. Short one today.